Politics. What are Reformism and Insurrectionism? Today we're going to talk about change, or more specifically, how it can be achieved. Before you point out that change isn't really a belief that you can build a system around, I'll ask you to bear in mind that the way in which we achieve the society we want is generally considered to be quite important. Of course, none of the stuff covered here is particularly relevant if you think we already live in a perfect system, but that seems unlikely, so I'm just going to continue throwing information at you for the next 2 minutes. It's useful to split the way people achieve change into two different categories, reform and insurrection. The first is getting change by working with the system, and the second is getting change by going against the system. Voting for your favourite party in an election in the hopes that they'll change things when they get into power, and participating in legal protests in the hopes that the government will listen to your demands are good examples of reformism. Participating in unauthorised protests, burning down police stations because of police brutality, and political assassinations are generally good examples of insurrectionism. Unless, for whatever reason, the state made it legal to do those things. So often, people seeking political change are just clumped into violent and non-violent groups. But this isn't a very helpful distinction by itself, with peaceful methods quite varied, although violent options tend to be somewhat illegal. Let's take a look at some historical examples. I always hate mentioning the Nazis, but in this case they're a perfect example of a purely reformist takeover of government. You heard that right. The Nazis were reformist, managing to get into power fully legally by winning enough votes in the 1933 German election, followed by some tricksy but debatably legal political actions. The opposite happened in the October Revolution that saw the Bolshevik communists get into power in Russia, a purely insurrectionary and particularly violent overthrow of government. None of the old government had any say on the new, as the system was swapped out rather than reformed. Things are not always so simple, however. If we take a quick look at the US civil rights movement, you'll probably remember that Martin Luther King was the peaceful protest guy, whereas Malcolm X was the violent guy. Despite their different attitudes to violence, they were both insurrectionary. The people picking up guns to fight against the police may have been doing something more obviously illegal, but Rosa Parks refusing to give up her bus seat was still illegal, and got her just as arrested. Martin Luther King may have also been a reformist, what with helping to get the Civil Rights Act passed into law, but he was still an insurrectionist. So, how do you change the system? By either working with the system, working against it, or by doing both. Simple.